and welcome to Hotline. My name is Linda Pang and I'm a senior at Cedar Falls High School. I will be your host for today. Today we are discussing Cedar Falls growth and the development of new projects, with the second half of our show featuring some current happenings at Western Home Communities. Would each of our guests like to introduce themselves and give a small overview of your jobs?
Sure. I'm Mayor Jim Brown. My job consists in sort of two different facets. One is by ordinance. The position of mayor oversees the city administrator, presents a budget, runs the council meetings. Informally, my background is in economic development and business development, so I do a lot of interaction with various businesses and just other events that I can attend to represent the city.
My name is Chase Schrage, and I am the Capital Improvements Program Project Supervisor. I work under the direction of the city engineer. I monitor various construction projects and administer contracts with consultants.
Sounds great. So how many different road construction projects is Cedar Falls currently working on right now, and what are a couple examples?
There are numerous projects obviously going on right now of varying caliber. Some of the ones you might be more familiar with would be Highway 58 and Viking Road Interchange. That is a DOT project that we as a city have some involvement with. Obviously the University Avenue, we have two phases going on right now of that reconstruction project. And then another larger scale one would be the Downtown Levee Improvements project.
As an engineer, at what point do you look at a road, or when you're considering a project, at what point do you decide that there are improvements that need to be made?
Currently, the city has in place a kind of a pavement management program that we do. Each year we evaluate all the streets in the city, give them a rating index, a pavement rating index, in which we categorize and determine which ones need replacement prior to others. Some types of pavement may only require minor maintenance to extend their life.
And how long does it take to get a new building or road project approved, and what does that process look like?
It's kind of a broad question. It depends on the size of the project. Obviously, a larger caliber project like University Avenue takes anywhere between 5 and 8 years of planning to move that project along. A smaller size building or commercial lot may get through the approval process in as little as 2 months. So.
In the past several years, we've seen Cedar Falls grow substantially, both in size and population. Do you have any statistics that reflect this growth?
Well, one measurement is what we call our tax evaluation each year, and really it's all the different growth that's taking place, whether it's someone building a deck behind their house or a big project like the Target Distribution Center. So 2 years ago, it was $153 million of new taxable growth. Last year was roughly $113 million. And then this year, the latest projection I saw, they're always running a little bit behind, is probably, again, over $100 million. It's important to note that the $153 million was a spike because of some large projects. But any account for folks, city our size, anything between $60 and $80 million would be a great year for any particular city. So even though our trajectory is a little bit dropping, it's nothing to be nervous about. We're still growing very, very well in terms of our city compared to others and what we're looking to do each year.
So you mentioned small things such as like a personal deck or even anything as big as Target. So what things does the city have to consider when reconstructing a road in a business district as opposed to a neighborhood or a highway?
Yeah, it's important to note, and Chase can help me out here, a lot of what you see or what folks see now, whether it's new businesses or new areas of growth towards business, new areas of growth towards houses, residential streets, and then the projects that he had mentioned, they're all run by policy. So in other words, you can have a residential area and you're not going to see a grocery store in the middle of it, or I should say maybe like an industrial type of business. So there's various zoning and codes that get distinguished and get decided by the council, the ultimate deciding factor in our city. And from there, we sort of move forward in terms of what's needed in the process to get it done.
Anything to add?
No, just on the construction side of it, I guess, in more of a business district, it makes it difficult to reconstruct something like University Avenue and West First Street when it comes up. maintaining access for all those businesses during the hours that they're open and things like that.
So as far as businesses, what is the process of becoming a new business in the Cedar Falls area, both for the city and for the business?
Well, it can range from different sort of sources. So various industries may want to expand who are existing in Cedar Falls. Others may they might put out an RFP, a request for proposal, because they need certain amenities, size of a lot, access to the roads. And so from there, there's just a process of applying for and getting all the answers they need, and then seeing what fits for the city, and ultimately putting a plan together to have a site plan approved by the city council once again, and then all the details that Chase and some of his folks look over to make sure it's built properly for now and for the future.
So we've talked a lot about growth and construction. What are some things that might delay a road from reopening?
I think the biggest factor would be weather, obviously. Weather plays a huge role here in the Midwest to getting something completed on time, even when it's a large project like University or Highway 58. So contractor's schedule is always determined by that. So.
And continuing on to the flood levy, I know that you mentioned, why has the city of Cedar Falls decided to raise the flood levy now?
I think if you look at the history of the flood events that we've had in the past, you can go all the way back to the early 90s, and then recent ones in 2008 and 2016. Those actually really tested our protection levels that we have in Cedar Falls. The levee is designed for a 500-year flood event, and those both in 2008 and 2016 were 500-year flood events. So we're trying to avoid that and provide an additional level of protection. So,
how long and tall is the flood levee going to be when it's finished?
The current levee structure is approximately 6,000 feet in length.
Wow.
The new construction will put the levee wall height at about 4 to 5 feet above the existing ground. So.
Okay. How does the construction of apartments and other buildings affect the levee project?
Well, it seems now in terms of the timing with the flood levy, fortunately we got that through. It was a long process to work with the DNR and with the Corps of Engineers. It just so happens we continue to grow downtown. So it's just taken a lot of coordination with developments going up downtown, at the same time building the levee, and then watching out for weather as the levee is built. So Chase's group does a great job in terms of communicating with the contractors, communicating with city staff, the stakeholders, all the stakeholders involved to make sure it's as smooth as possible.
And do we have any kind of broad schedule for these projects, especially the big ones that we're mentioning, such as the levee or Highway 58, which I know is a really big construction project right now?
Sure. The Highway 58 project is a 2-year project, so we will not see completion until the end of 2019 on that. The local projects that we have, the levee, as well as all phases of University, is projected to be done at the end of this construction season.
How big of a role do politics play in planning the growth of a city like Cedar Falls?
Well, that's a great question. As I mentioned earlier, the deciding body is the city council. And so as a city grows, I think it's very important to keep the council informed as early as possible. They have their questions answered from staff, or again from the stakeholders. So, as an example, I don't think they would approve a 20-story-foot building downtown, but they have to land somewhere. So there's just those discussions, and again, going back a little bit to city policy and the experience of our great staff, usually it's worked the last couple of decades where, again, it's a win-win for the developer and a win-win for the city altogether to continue to grow.
Why has Cedar Falls decided to grow in the direction it's growing, and not as, actually physical direction as far as boundaries or north, south?
It's an interesting question because, to our east we have Waterloo, and to our south we have Highway 20. So unless we do something real unique, that's about where it stops, those two directions. The river in north, we hope to get some different development towards the northern end of Cedar Falls. In fact, we're putting a Council just approved a trail to go up Center Street that helps recreationally. We're also looking at different opportunities to grow that direction, but again, the flooding up in that area that's inherent it makes it difficult. So really the only direction we have to go is west and more or less southwest, although there's been some discussion too of northwestern Cedar Falls, moving more towards Grundy County, and that'll be a little tricky, but it's doable, and we're taking a look at it.
So lastly, from both the city standpoint and from a construction standpoint, what are some major factors, do you think, that have been contributing to Cedar Falls' growth?
Well, it's the people, number one, I believe, and that works across the city. And it's the city partners that we have. The Cedar Falls School District is fantastic. The University of Northern Iowa adds just a tremendous pull for individuals to come to our great city. Cedar Falls Utilities is by far the best opportunity a city has for not only their utilities they have themselves, but with the broadband that we have. So all of that kind of works together for the good, and ultimately the quality of life that we have. So an award-winning downtown, our bike trails, all the different, everything from swimming pools to disc golf they play there. All that, I think, contributes to great growth. We're also one of the lowest taxed cities in the state, so companies who deal in large dollar amounts realize at the end of the year they're going to have more money in their pockets, if you will, because our taxes are lower. Our debt is one of the lowest in the state. Our valuations have gone up, and all that's because of economic development, and it almost seems like there's somewhat of a domino effect. Success breeds success, and I think that's a big reason, a number of the reasons that we've had the big growth we've had probably the last couple of decades.
Any patterns you've seen from a construction point of view?
No, just to touch on Mayor Brown's comments, you know, as development grows, you know, the city has additional infrastructure that's installed, streets and sewer and storm sewer, things like that, but it requires more maintenance and more dollars for those repairs. So
our goal is to keep him busy.
Right. Thank you to both of our guests. For the second part of our show, we will be moving on to a segment about the Western Homes, and we'd like to start with a video about the Western Homes communities.
Welcome. I'm Chris Hansen, CEO of Western Home Communities. We want to take you on a tour of the Jorgensen Plaza for Wellbeing, Prairie Wind, and the Suites at our South Campus here in Cedar Falls.
Hey everybody, welcome to Prairie Wind, where we have 75 beautiful apartment homes. What makes Prairie Wind unique is that it's attached to all of the amenities at the Jorgensen Plaza for Wellbeing.
It's just a few steps from Prairie Wind to our Table 1912, our formal upscale fine dining restaurant, opening in late May. It's the perfect place for a business lunch or dinner. If you want to enjoy a cocktail or the big game, stop by Gilmore's Pub. Caraway Cafe is now open to the public every day. Check out our delicious homemade breads, soups, paninis, coffee, and breakfast sandwiches. And just down the hall from the restaurants is the gym of Jorgensen Plaza.
Here at Diamond Event Center, our culinary team will cater all kinds of receptions for up to 400 people, wedding receptions, socials, luncheons, and more. Our residents will enjoy dances and other social occasions at Diamond Event Center, plus each Sunday they'll have services here. Spiritual well-being is just as important as physical health.
We are so excited to be opening our Wellness Center to our residents and employees here at Western Home Communities. We will be offering a walking, jogging track, strength and cardio equipment, as well as a freeway area to be able to do all of your physical well-being opportunities. The pool that you see behind me has 4 lap swimming lanes, as well as we will offer aqua aerobics classes.
The Wellness Center is attached to our new therapy space where we will have physical, occupational, and speech therapy. We will be opening the beginning of May with focusing on helping people gain strength and independence. We also offer inpatient therapy and outpatient therapy in the suites next door.
Each resident, as they come into the suites, will be in their own private room with their own private bathroom and shower. This is the only facility in Northeast Iowa with all private rooms. The suites were developed to have 20 private rooms per floor to help those residents that are healing or getting better in some rehab to be in a very residential feel, working together to go back home.
Well, that was a very quick glimpse of what's going on out here at the South Campus in Cedar Falls. We certainly invite you to come out and see it for yourself in the very near future.
Welcome back to Hotline. For the second half of our show, we will be focusing on Western Home Communities. Can each of our guests please introduce yourselves and the role that you play at Western Homes?
Sure. My name's Linda Bowman, and I'm the Chief Communications Officer, which means really I get to tell the story of Western Home Communities. So whether I'm writing something or speaking about it or preparing ads, newsletter, website, that type of thing, that's my job.
Good. Linda, I'm Jerry Harris. I'm the Chief Operating Officer, and I take care of all operations at our Cedar Falls campus, which means a little bit of everything. And yeah, both in both of our campuses downtown and our campus at South Campus or on South Main Street.
We've just finished talking about a lot of growth and projects within the Cedar Falls area. So recently, we've also seen some substantial growth in the Western Homes area. What projects are currently underway?
So we're finishing up, we've had a project for about 15, 16 years where we started villas, and we're finishing up the last of our villas on our South Main Street with some townhomes. We completed, we're in the middle of finishing up. We've got some interesting days today because we've got a project with Prairie Wind that was a building, an independent living that we opened last June. The Jorgensen Plaza for Wellbeing, which we opened in the last month or so, and our suites on the north end of that building. And we are moving in our first 2 residents as we speak.
Wow. Into
that building.
Kind of an exciting day.
So what is the timeline for any of those projects? I know you mentioned some really long timelines.
Yeah, so the timeline for Prairie Wind obviously last summer, and we were able to get some residents moved into that. During that time, we've been moving them in and working on getting that building almost full, 75 units there. And then with Jorgensen Plaza, we've just opened up Caraway Cafe, which is our first restaurant there. We'll have Table 1912, a second restaurant, and Gilmore's Pub that's going to be opening towards the end of May here. The Diamond Event Center, a nice event center and part of Jorgensen Plaza, our wellness there, and our aquatic center, and then the suites that we just talked about, which our first, like I said, our first residents moving in an hour ago.
What are some different living options that are offered at Western Home Communities?
Well, we really have what we like to refer to as a full continuum. So you can move into Western Home Communities at the age of 55, and you could move into a villa, which is completely an active lifestyle. It's a lot like condo living, really, where you're on your own. You have what is essentially a full-size home, and the great thing is that all the mowing is taken care of, and all the shoveling of snow, and all the maintenance. So really, it's a lot of hassle-free living. And we're looking at some pictures of our South Campus right now, where we have villas, and then we also have several independent living options. And we have 6 of those communities, and really we have a lot of choice for people. So depending on the size of apartment home they would like or the style, they can choose what's really right for them. But all of it amounts to that hassle-free lifestyle, because when you're in independent living, there are a few more services that we provide too, like housekeeping, which is always great, and some laundry service. And then we have a package of what we call Western Home Dollars, and you can use them for meals or other services that you might like to enhance your life.
That sounds great. So what are some other options for assisted living? I know you touched on a lot of independent living options.
So as we get into assisted living, we have 2 assisted living buildings on either one of our campuses. The first would be the standard assisted living, and that really is our legacy building that up until about a decade ago was the Western Home. Many people know our original building as the Western Home, and that's the standard assisted living. And then we have Windhaven at our South Campus, and with that is attached Tallman Square. And assisted living has a little bit more intense care. We've got nurses and RAs 24 hours a day. And those residents can get a number of items, and it's really a system where from day to day, depending on what they need, maybe in a service level with meals, housekeeping, things like that, and nursing and healthcare services, they have the options to use those services on a day-to-day basis.
If there was anything that you would hope that the community of Cedar Falls knew about Western Home or the programming provide, what would that be?
I think for me, I would love for everyone in Cedar Falls to know what a great group of employees we have, because they live our mission every single day. And our mission is to assertively create fulfilling lifestyles for those we serve, their families, and our employees. And I see them often going the extra mile to make that happen. So they really take it to heart, and it's really a big group of employees that make this all happen. So that is what I think I would want people to know the most.
Yeah, I think our employees are outstanding, and working with the community too for all of these years, the relationships that we've had with the city, with the university, with CFU, with our families, with our volunteers, and then our employees. They're great, and they do every day. They bring the life, the vibrancy, the caring, the compassion to what we do. With all the building projects we do, they're great building projects, but it's the employees inside that really make those things special.
Back to projects for a little while. Since their opening in 2015, the cottages have been the first freestanding small house nursing homes for people with dementia in Iowa. Can you tell us a little bit more about that community?
Yeah, so our first 2 cottages were put up and operational in 2015. We really started dreaming about this kind of care in the late 90s. And what we've done is we saw how people were taken care of in institutional models, and we turned that into a household model. And really what we've done is we built a house. And we built a house where 16 residents live with a full kitchen. It looks like a house, it acts like a house, and the caregivers and the nurses and others that deliver the care in there, they do a little bit of everything. So they're trained to do some of the housekeeping, they're trained to do the laundry, they're trained to cook, they're trained to be caregivers, and to pass on a hug and love during the day as well. So we have, in that situation, 16 residents. So there's fewer residents in that, so they get used to that. And there's some consistency of staffing. When we put staff in there, we plug them in, and they typically work in that cottage, in that household exclusively. So they get to learn who they're working with as far as residents, and form a really, really special bond.
I hope you can see from the pictures that they like to have parties at the cottages. It's really an active lifestyle, and yet that is a nursing facility. Is what it's inspected. It's a nursing home just like any other nursing home according to state and national guidelines. But it's so full of life because the goal is really to give dignity and purpose back to people. And it's a model that's really worked well, and we believe in it wholeheartedly. Because it puts residents back in the driver's seat. So we recently opened 3 cottages in Grundy Center. They're called Creekside. So the residents of what was Grundy County Memorial Hospital long-term care are now living that same vibrant lifestyle in cottages in Grundy Center. And
in fact, when we tour families and residents and tour them through the cottages, and they're needing nursing care, they say, okay, we've seen the cottages, where's the nursing home? And this is the nursing home of 2018, and we're pretty pleased to lead in putting these up.
That sounds like an amazing project. Have there been any challenges in setting that up?
Well, I think anytime you do something, you turn a model on its head, which is really what we did. We did a complete 180. It's difficult to make that transition. But again, it goes back to our staff, because the staff who are there really believed in it and they pushed for it, and they're the ones who have carried it out. And even from day one, when we saw residents move in, it was like a lot of them came back to life quickly, because they got out of a model of care that just over the years had become kind of focused on medical needs, and now it became focused on quality of life, and that's really what it's all about.
Speaking of quality of life, what sorts of recreational programs do you offer for residents?
So we've had a pretty robust array of activities and things through the years, but in fact, we just got back from a walk that we did with our residents and staff today, And we've got nice facilities and nice spaces. And then with the addition of the Aqua Center and the wellness portion of that in Jorgensen Plaza, we're going to be able to kind of enhance what we're doing, not only for our residents and families, but for our employees as well. And we talk about wellness, and those things are going to be very enhancing to all of us that work there and all of us that live there.
This is our Big Kids Bike Club we're seeing pictures of right now, and that's really a resident initiative, and they ride twice a week. Starting in the spring. They rode today already, and they go out often and enjoy the trails all around our campuses.
We're very fortunate to be around in the Cedar Falls, Waterloo area with the trail system, and it just happens that both of our campuses are pretty close to the trail system. So for walking, for those that are on scooters, for those that are on, you know, bikes, three-wheel bikes, all those kinds of things, it really enhances what they're able to do.
Each summer it's a tradition for us to have Saturday morning pool parties. We do it at least 2 or 3 times a summer for our residents and employees and any of their friends and neighbors they want to bring. So this is a great time for us to get out and enjoy some sunshine, and it's really intergenerational because people bring their grandkids and get to watch them swim or get in the water with them. So that's one of those recreational things we enjoy too.
Are there any plans for future development and growth that you would really like to see in the Western Home area?
Well, I think one thing that's definitely on our radar is that we'd like to build more cottages. The first 2 that we have are specifically designed for people living with dementia, and that is a huge and growing need, so that's something we really want to pursue. Jerry was there at the very beginning when the first 13 acres were bought right off of South Main Street. That's now grown to 150 acres. So I would say just, you know, keep your eyes and ears out because we'll be doing something else.
All right.
And lastly, are there any ways that you would want Cedar Falls residents to get involved with Western Home and its residents?
We're always looking for volunteers who want to plug in, volunteers of all ages and all interests. Carolyn Martin is our volunteer services director, so people can just give her a call or reach out on our website. And also I would say just come see us at Jorgensen Plaza for Wellbeing. We have 2 great restaurants there, one that's open, one that will be soon, and Diamond Event Center, Salon Iris. Our therapy gym is there. The suites are opening. We'll have an open house there May 20th, so we invite you to come on out anytime.
Anything to add?
Nothing to add, Linda. You did a great job.
All right. Unfortunately, that's all the time we have for today. Thank you for our guests for being here, and tune in next week for another great hotline.